Where are you going? The party's just begun.
Party? What party?
Let's party! This week we watched Night of the Demons. Welcome back to the VHS Files. If you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, thanks for coming back and watching us. Tonight we're talking about Night of the Demons from 1988. We've got Eric and Jason as usual, and from the YouTube channel, From the Deep, I want to welcome Brett and Mike.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Give it up!
Welcome.
Thank you.
If you like our channel, you guys would probably love From the Deep's channel. So I reached out and said, hey, let's do something together. And Night of the Demons is what the roulette wheel landed on, I guess.
Sounds about right.
It is worth noting I'm far more into crappy old horror movies than he is. So forcing him to watch crappy old horror is one of my favorite things in the world.
Well, that's fun.
I would say Jason and I are into crappy old horror movies a little more than Eric.
Eric likes them. He just hasn't watched them all.
Right.
Eric's here to get his horror education. We keep giving him shit about that.
I think he's about to get his diploma to move up to junior high. I think he might be moving to junior high by now.
I guess it's good that you're letting me move up. I feel like I've seen a lot of movies, but you guys are the gatekeepers to fandom, and
it doesn't count if they're not crappy old horror movies.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, I want to throw it over to you guys for a second. Tell us a little bit about you guys and your channel.
Good evening. Allow me to introduce myself.
I'll let Brett go first here.
Yeah, Count Dingleberry, the flaming asshole of Transylvania.
That's great, because I was just sitting here completely expecting him to be silent while you took over. So awesome.
You son of a bitch!
So no, we like you said, we run From the Deep on YouTube. It's movie reviews. We end up doing a lot of horror, but we do try to diversify it a little bit with other genres, which a lot of the times are just subgenres of horror.
It's a lot like us.
And yeah. And but as far as the personal life thing goes, I'm actually a camera operator and editor for a living. And that's pretty much it. I just work and make YouTube videos with this guy down here.
All right. Mike.
Yeah, so I'm Mike. I'm go by Mike the Finder on YouTube. I have a vlog channel that I've been doing for several years. And that's kind of where the podcast started. And at some point, it became kind of clear that the vlog and the podcast were two very different audiences. And so we moved it over to its own channel. And that is what we've been working on for the last year or so. We've known each other forever. And so it's just, like I said earlier, it's one of my favorite things to force him to watch crappy movies that he doesn't like. And so we sort of trade back and forth on what movies we're going to do. And he tends to get me back on watching stuff I don't like either.
There's
and
a segment of the cancel culture coming for people like you one day.
what kind of movies do you not like, Mike?
Mostly I really don't like action stuff. I'm not huge into sci-fi. I hate Star Wars, like with an actual
Okay,
passion.
good night. See you guys later. We're out of here.
That's one of the more the bigger things that I really don't like, but it's mostly stuff like that. He's a much bigger fan of what I would call
the only
blockbusters.
one.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
He is the Highlander. He is the only one.
I'm not huge into Star Wars either. I wouldn't say I hate it, but I'm not a super fan like these guys are.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't know. I grew up watching it a little bit, but for the most part, sci-fi is just not something I can get into really. Horror is the thing I've always obsessed.
So when
over.
you say,
what about horror sci-fi?
I was going to say, when you say sci-fi, do you mean just like the more like highbrow sort of sci-fi stuff? Or are you into? I mean, obviously, Alien is a horror movie, in my opinion. So
right.
I mean,
when I say that, I'm talking about more like Battlestar and Star Trek and Star Wars and that kind of stuff. Yeah. I really like stuff like Alien and The Thing and, light sci-fi horror, stuff like that. I really, really love. So
okay,
it's
good.
That straight
Phew.
sci-fi that I can't get into.
We're still on the same page, buddy. So far.
But can we all agree that Life Force sucks, though?
Jesus.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Thank you.
I can't argue that.
I like these guys.
Good, because you got like 2 hours that you're stuck with us. So.
Well, we're in luck tonight because tonight we're talking a crappy horror movie. In some people's opinion, we're talking Night of the Demons from 1988, directed by Kevin S. Tenney. And Eric, we're going to throw it over to you so you can take us back in time to 1988.
Well, Josh, in 1988, you'd load up on hairspray, roll up your jeans, and hop into your friend's dad's brand new GMC Sierra 1500 extended cab pickup.
Yeah.
You'd crank that radio dial to songs like Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison or
Brett Michaels.
No,
Brett Michaels.
no, we're not doing this. This will not be a thing.
Just to be clear, I'm okay with it.
So then you'd head on down to the theater to see the latest horror movie like The Blob, Child's Play, or Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
1988 saw table tennis in the Olympics for the first time. They actually tried making suntanning an Olympic sport once, but nobody could do better than bronze.
Okay, you had me there for a second. I'm not gonna lie.
In its third edition, the Air Jordan brand debuted the iconic Jumpman logo in 1988. There was also a pretty horrible fire at one of the plants making the Nike Jordans as well. Over 1,000 souls were lost. Real tragic stuff there. Prince Charles, now King Charles, as you guys may know, was nearly killed by an avalanche in 1988. Apparently, he heard a rumble, and then it was all downhill from there. So, finally, even toothpaste fucking rocked in 1988. Hit it, Josh. It's rock music.
I don't think that's a good enough explanation for what I'm looking at. Right now.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. There you go.
See? Toothpaste rocks, and it's got glitter in it.
Does it have
So-
acid in it?
This would have made me want to
It's
buy
got
toothpaste.
it's got acid and glitter in it.
It's definitely got cocaine in it. It's 1988.
Yes, everything was laced with cocaine in 1988.
No wonder I want to go back so bad.
Thanks for taking us back to 1988, Eric. And now we're going to start talking about Night of the Demons a little bit. I'm going to go over some box office stuff here. I couldn't find a budget for this movie, weirdly.
I
You
did.
did? Okay.
I
What
did.
was it?
Estimated at $1 million because they said it made 3 times its budget.
All right. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
$3.1 million box office. So I wouldn't call this a flop by any regards. Now, when you look at Rotten Tomatoes, different story. Critics 36% on Rotten Tomatoes and an audience score of 55%. I honestly thought the critics score would be a little higher on this one, but maybe I'm playing my hand a little bit about this movie. So, but I was a little shocked to find out about that. How do you guys feel about those scores? Do you think they're high, low, or right where they need to be?
I mean, personally,
Pretty close.
I think that for what this movie is, that's pretty good. This is a very specialized, have to be into shitty horror movies in order to like really enjoy. So
I mean, at the risk of like giving away how I felt about it, I think those are both really low. They both feel really low.
Well, I might be right there with you, Brett, to be honest. So,
Wow,
I feel like one of the redeeming qualities of this movie is that it knows exactly what it is and it invested the time, money, and effort into all of the correct areas.
yes,
Yes.
I completely agree with you.
Definitely.
That's a great point. I as far as the Rotten Tomatoes things, I wasn't listening, so I don't know what you said. So
God,
We'll
that
just move
honesty is
on.
refreshing.
I'll leave you in suspense then, sir. Well, this was directed by Kevin S. Tenney, and this was his second film, his first film being Witchboard in 1986.
I like that
I've not
movie.
seen that
Yeah,
movie.
great movie.
I have not seen that one.
great movie.
That was not too
add
bad.
it to the list, Holmes.
It's already on it, my friend. Night of the Demons is a little bit different from Witchboard, from what I understand. Again, I haven't seen it, but to hear Kevin S. Tenney talk, this was a very different movie than that one. So he felt a little awkward going in and directing this one. After Night of the Demons, he would go on to do Witch Trap, Peacemaker, Witchboard 2, The Devil's Doorway, and Pinocchio's Revenge in 1996, which I haven't seen that either. So.
All right, that was a movie when I was a kid. You went into the video store and you always saw Pinocchio's face on the box art there, and you're like, I want to watch this movie, and I don't think I ever did.
Definitely a notorious VHS box for sure.
Yeah, because it's a creepy looking Pinocchio on the front of it.
I've never heard of this movie, and I've never wanted to watch something more.
Yes, I mean, every time you watch it, you always had that, the crazy horror movie box art, but that one was always there, and you search it through, and you're like, Pinocchio's Revenge?
Well, that was one of the greatest things about the 80s and the 90s was the box art on these tapes, man.
Well, the tagline's amazing too. Evil comes with strings attached.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Okay, I'm watching this.
It just made our list as well. So look for that in the future on the VHS files.
Yeah. You cut my strings, I cut your throat.
Holy shit, did you write for this movie?
That's just a little taste of where we're going to go in a segment a little later, guys. The beginning of this movie starts with an animated title sequence, which was done by a Disney animator, which I found kind of shocking. She worked for Disney, and it was inspired by one of the segments from Fantasia.
Oh, I must say that my inspiration was Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia. I love. It's like one of my favorite animated pieces.
It cost a lot of money to do an animation for this title sequence back in 1988, and they wanted to save money and just do like a short segment and then black card with white titles over it. But once they saw the initial setup for the opening, they were like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. Well, the other thing about the production here is this movie was originally called Halloween Party,
which was called Halloween Party at the time.
And Mustafa Akkad was not having that shit and shut that down real fast. And the funny thing is they had already done the animation with Halloween Party in it. So they had to go back and redo everything and like kind of plaster over the title and put Night of the Demons in there. They weren't very happy about that, to say the least.
Yeah, that's like a pickup shoot from hell.
Right.
Well, it's important to note that the animation is it's like not really animation. Like there aren't like full animated movements really. We're just have like static images that are moving and like panning.
I mean, it definitely does explain why it's so Halloween centric.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very, and it opens with a pumpkin and a jack-o'-lantern and all that stuff. So yeah, I was I had never heard of this movie, so I was kind of surprised when this kicks on. We got like all the Halloween imagery and the animation. I'm like, oh, this is a Halloween movie. Like I didn't even know that's what it was.
Yeah, well, that's what I think the opening really like succeeds at is like, from the get-go, or at least you have a really good inkling that this is going to be a Halloween movie because it looks like old crappy Halloween decorations.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
And I love the dissolve into the jack-o'-lantern on top of the car too. I think that looks really good.
Yeah. It's like flawless too.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is on purpose, but the very first animation on the moon really looks like one of the killer tomatoes.
Ooh,
Like
I
the
didn't think
teeth
about
and
that.
everything.
Yeah.
Like, I sat there and as soon as I saw that in my notes, I wrote killer tomato reference, period, awesome, capital letters.
Well, I think there's a lot of things they may be pulling some references from in this movie. We'll talk about it when we get into talking about the movie. But Kevin S. Tenney, him and the writer, which I don't have his name in front of me, but
Joe Augustin.
Apparently they didn't. To hear them tell it, it's not that they didn't get along, but there was a lot of back and forth about the decisions that were made in the production of this movie. And they were very upset about having to change the name from Halloween Party to Night of the Demons. But I think Night of the Demons still works. It kind of takes away from lending to the Halloween aspect of the whole movie. But I still think Night of the Demons gets the point across. But
Demon Night.
Demon Night came
Night
10 years later or so.
Demon Wind.
Well, I'm just talking about like the names for like Halloween Night.
True.
Like you got like, right, like all the different like nicknames for Halloween Night, right?
Well, they apparently didn't want to go with your traditional slasher. Kevin S. Tenney had done Witchboard in the middle of the slasher craze, and it was a very different type of movie from the slashers that were out around this time. So with this one, they wanted to do a slasher, but not your traditional one. So therefore, they kind of played into the whole aspect of it's not just one killer. You've got a killer, and then the people start to dwindle, and then your antagonists start to multiply, which very relative to zombie movies and things of that nature. But this one takes a little bit of a different.
Or Evil Dead.
We're gonna talk about Evil Dead. Don't worry, Eric. We're gonna get there.
Oh yeah, calm down. Pump the brakes, Sam Raimi.
They originally had Judy, the main character. They had her in a Red Riding Hood outfit, which they ended up changing to the Alice in Wonderland for good reason. Kevin S. Tinney thought a lot of the things in the story didn't make a whole lot of sense.
The house is possessed, but it can't unlock the door, but it can make the cotter pins come out of the door so that the demons can knock it down.
It was a valid inquiry.
Yes.
I mean, they could close every door in the house at once
Right.
as well.
Well, and my favorite part is even after the bolts come out, the lock still stops them for a minute. And so instead of just pushing it from the other side and maybe like putting your fucking weight into it a little bit, they're like confounded by this boltless door.
Well, I mean, shit, you had Stooge on the other side of the door, so that dude could have got through there. No problem. You could tell this guy didn't do a lot of horror movies because he's thinking about these things when horror fans are really suspending disbelief and will believe anything you put in a horror movie.
Oh, God.
Almost.
Yeah.
But I still think it was a great decision. Unfortunately,
Well, thematically, it makes more sense.
yeah, it helps the movie. I think the costuming in this movie is another thing that helps it. I mean, I love all the costuming in this. I'm sorry, Jason, they took the Red Riding Hood outfit away because then you don't get your werewolf fantasy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's a
me and
bummer.
my werewolf friends are disappointed.
In case you guys don't know, Jason's very into werewolves, almost sexually too.
Sexually, wow.
Is this a Jason deep dive? Is that what we're doing here? Did you go, hey, we're gonna do an intervention with two fucking strangers?
I mean, who wouldn't want to make out when Anna Paquin is a werewolf? Hello?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the end of that movie is I get it.
Guys, I'm leaning towards Team Jason on this one.
See, Mike gets
I get it. I get
Mike
it.
gets it.
I get it.
Not just Anna Paquin in that movie, all the werewolf girls in that movie.
Oh yeah, all the girls. Yeah, hello. But you were talking about the costuming being cool. I also appreciated the lack of costumes at points in this movie too.
What do you mean at points in this movie? Every
It's
10
the whole
fucking
movie.
Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up in the production is no CGI, no computer generated graphics in this movie. Everything practical, other than obviously some composite shots with the house and things of that nature. But as far as the makeup goes, transformations, all of that stuff, every bit of it practical.
The special effects are fucking incredible in this.
They are good.
You can thank Steve Johnson, who did the makeup for Fright Night, who did the FX.
You can tell. You can absolutely tell.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Look at
Wow,
the
that
mouths.
does make a lot of sense. Yeah.
When they go full Fang Demon, you're like, that's definitely
Well,
Fright Night.
he
right
had
there.
worked on American Werewolf in London. He's worked with Rob Bottin. He worked on Ghostbusters. So this guy had been kind of second fiddle to a lot of the big names that were coming up. And then he got this job, and he got a little cocky with it.
It's like, this is my breakout film. We're going to do it how I want it, the way I want it, when I want it, as many times as I want it, until, God damn it, I'm happy.
He's the person you let have free reign on a movie like this.
Yeah,
And he could finally get the one effect he's been trying to get into every movie, and he couldn't quite get it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you guys could maybe guess which one. It was a little off the wall. Didn't make sense for Ghostbusters.
Right. Well, it would have made it might have made sense in the cutscene from Ghostbusters with the ghost blowjob.
yeah. Well, but not only did he get to do everything he wanted, then he got to do Linnea Quigley because he went on to marry her.
Yeah, it was his first wife.
Oh,
Yep.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
And he talks about in the special features how when he was doing makeup and everything, and he'd be doing makeup on her, and they're just kind of looking back and forth in each other's eyes, and he's like, there was just a spark there.
Because Linnea has very nice big tits.
Yeah, there was just something so attractive about her after I put on the fourth scab and the yellow teeth in her mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, the scene that Eric is referring to, the nipple scene, was very much inspired and kind of made from the James Woods stomach vagina, if you want, from Videodrome.
Sure.
Which is great.
That makes sense.
He had worked on.
I'm sorry, I just can't hear. I can't hear James Woods' names without hearing. And you've got James Woods.
I can't hear James Woods' names without going.
Did I give you wood?
Mahogany.
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 I just try to not think of his tweets.
Well,
generally,
I've never seen.
Yeah, he's generally not a great person.
Never seen anything he's tweeted, so I'll stay away from that.
Oh,
one.
you're lucky.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
He's something else.
Well, let me ask. We could get into the history of this movie. I mean, when did everybody see this movie?
3 hours ago.
Sunday.
So Sunday for Brett. Mike, when was your first watch?
No. Mine was 3 hours ago.
Oh.
He said Sunday. I know goddamn well that's not the only time he's watched this movie.
Yeah,
It is.
The first time I saw this was
Oh, him. Oh, I thought Mike said Sunday, and I was like, nah, that's bullshit.
No.
Yeah. Eric was probably Sunday.
Why does
No,
this guy not believe me?
Yeah,
The first time I saw this, I was probably about 14, 15 years old. I spent a lot of time in movies, like renting movies and stuff when I was
Yep.
younger.
Dude,
And this is
I can
one of
only
the-
imagine seeing this at that age.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
that's about when I saw
I
it.
wish.
Yeah.
I wish
To be
I would have seen
fair,
it at
that's
this
the
age.
only way you should be seeing this movie at 14 is in your fucking imagination.
I wish I would have seen this at 14 or earlier. I mean, I've seen movies that are far worse than this, a lot younger. But
yeah.
this one is one that I never really, it was never on my radar. I never thought to pick it up in the video store, never saw it on TV. So my first watch of this was probably about 10 years ago. And I remember that first watch, I was like, wow, why have I never seen this before?
Let's party.
Jason, when was your first watch?
Yeah, I mean, I was a teenager. I mean, this movie came out in 1988. Shoot, I didn't see it when it first came out. I would have only been like 11. But I think I saw it on HBO, like late night, horror movies. HBO used to do that later at night. They would play a lot of old horror movies and stuff like that. And I remember seeing it, and I'm like, whoa, boobs. What? Boobs. And then you get to see Linnea Quigley, which she just like, I'm not going to do boobs. I'm going to show you everything. And, at 14 years old, you're like, hello. So,
well, since you mentioned that, Jason, I mean, we got to go to the main man here, the pube guy.
yeah,
Josh,
Mr.
what'd you
Pubes.
think? I mean,
You saw pubes, Josh.
we got some major pubage here, my friend.
Well,
Full
I'll
bush.
say this one gets a leg up on, let's just say, Return of the Living Dead, because they actually had to cast a mold of Linnea Quigley in Return of the Living Dead because you could see too much in that movie. This one, they let her go all natural, and I was fine with it.
Well, not in the beginning, right? I have a note, so we're talking about it. We all noticed the sticker, the cover
Oh yeah.
on the rear end.
yeah.
Is
That a sticker or is it
So-
is it pantyhose? Like, is there? I've never worn pantyhose, so
No,
I
it
don't
looks
know
like
if there's
it was
protection
coverage
there. But
to just hide various female parts from falling out of that costume. I think it was, something you wouldn't normally see in a VHS, but here we are.
There's a lot of stuff like that in this movie where you're like, I shouldn't be able to see that, but I can.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the HD era has ruined a lot of old horror movies for a lot of us.
Absolutely. Terminator.
Right.
About ruined it for
The rear projection in that is
Arnold's pee-pee.
Well, that too.
No.
Arnold's swinging dong is more visible than ever these days, friends.
Digital
Be
age
careful.
ruined Aliens for me because you could totally tell everything's painted in the background.
Well, Linnea Quigley is funny because she didn't realize that was her introduction in the movie, and
Luckily, I didn't bring my parents, and they said, "Who's that butt?"
I have a feeling most of her movies are like that, though. I'm glad I didn't bring my mom.
She wasn't worried, mom, what mom would think about the
the nipple and the
Yeah.
pubes.
Yeah, I mean, in any movie she has done.
I'm going to go out on a
Yeah.
limb and say that when she was naked on screen, the furthest thing from her mind was her mother.
True. And Jay, and I don't know how well versed everybody is with Return of the Living Dead, but her breast reveal in this is pretty much the same way she reveals herself in Return of the Living Dead. It's quite an art form the way she has of showing herself.
And originally she turned down the role because she was 26 and didn't want to play a high school kid.
Right.
She didn't think she could do it, but everybody was like, "You're 26, but you look like you're 17."
I mean, maybe on VHS. I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that now she looks that age. None of them really do, so it doesn't.
A hard 17.
Really hard 17.
No. I hate the doors I walk into.
It's a revolving
Eric
door.
walks through those doors all the time.
All the time. He's used to it.
Just magooing my way through life.
Magooing is an amazing term. I'm gonna start using that.
That's good.
The last thing I want to bring up as far as production goes is the art direction of the house. The whole house was not actually on a hill. Like I said, they had the composite shot that it was just on a street in Los Angeles, and but I love the way they dressed this house up. I love all of the lighting, all the lights coming through the boarded windows. I think a lot of the, when we talk about budget, I mean, I think all of the budget is on screen in this movie. I'll go ahead and lay that out there.
Well, the animation cost probably about $750,000, and then you had $250 left, so that went to everything else.
I don't know, man. I gotta say, I think a healthy amount of the budget went into the lighting on this one. Not more than like what we see on screen, but that was actually something I noticed while I was watching this was. At this caliber of horror movie, the cinematography, the lighting is actually really good.
Yeah.
I love when that happens. When you watch a movie and you're like, okay, you understand pretty quickly where you're at as far as like you're at this type of horror movie from this era, and then you're watching it, you're like, wow, that looks good right there. Oh shit, that composition of that scene is like kind of rad, and these effects look excellent, and damn, I love being surprised by things like that.
Yeah, I mean, on my first watch of this, I was struck by a lot of what I was seeing in this movie, and that's kind of why it left an impression. And lo and behold, how many years later we're doing this podcast, I was like, man, we haven't talked about Night of the Demons yet. I'm anxious to see what everybody's opinion of Night of the Demons is. So lo and behold, here we are. It was actually shown at Mann's Chinese Theater when it was released, which they were awestruck by that, because that's where all the prestigious movies get shown.
Yeah.
The actor who plays Stooge actually went and saw it in a theater with a crowd of people, and was surprised by the fact that people recognized him when they were walking out of the movie. They're like, hey, that's Stooge, and he just couldn't believe it. So it got a warm reception, which again also kind of makes me wonder what's going on with the Rotten Tomatoes score of this, but I've never really put a whole lot of stock into Rotten Tomatoes as it is. So take that for what you will. But
I think the problem with that is you have a generic or a general opinion from like people that watch movies, like just all of them. I'd be willing to bet if you consolidate that down into a smaller microcosm of that into just like the horror community, you see a much different rating.
Yeah.
Well, this is held up pretty high in the horror community because of that. When you film something like you actually care, it'll take a movie that's a 4 up to like a 7. And all you got to do is care about the shit that's on screen, and it immediately makes it better.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And watching all the behind the scenes stuff, apparently everybody had a great time on this. There were complaints about, the makeup would take anywhere between 6 to 11 hours sometimes. Like there were some people that were in the chair for 11 hours doing makeup. And they used this blue, I don't remember what they called it, but it was like a blue smoke in all the fog machines for all the smoke that's in this movie, which there's a lot. And the crew was all like blowing blue boogers out of their nose for probably a good month after shooting this.
Oh my God.
Dude, that's the kind of shit that would never happen with the regulations that they have now.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got for production, so we can go ahead and start moving on to the next segment.
Where's your friggin' party?
Let's just go ahead and get into it. We've already talked about the animation a little bit into we've got the dissolve into the car with Stooge, Helen, and Raj driving around, just kind of doing their thing. And instantly what I get from here is Return of the Living Dead, which Brett's not going to know what I'm talking about because he hasn't seen Return of the Living Dead.
Well, and Evil Dead, Josh, because we've got young teens taking a drive out somewhere.
That's the main thing I was thinking of. Yeah.
Well, because of the punk rock aspect of it, that's where I really started to feel the Return of the Living Dead aspect of it. And then, on top of that, you've got Linnea Quigley in this. What was first? Was she in this first or Return of the Living Dead? Return of the Living Dead was 86, right?
85.
Since it had been a little while since I'd watched this, I completely forgot about the opening. And my first reaction when they get into this is like, old people abuse. Like, this is not something, you know.
Thank you. I felt so bad for this old man. Every human interaction he has is terrible. And then when he finally runs into Judy, he's mean to her, and I'm like, yeah, no, I get it.
and then you see what he drops on the ground, and you're like, oh, fuck this old guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The freaking apple with the damn razor blades.
But how many teenagers had to fuck with him to get him to that point?
Yeah.
That's true.
It's a slippery slope, Brett. Don't start making excuses for killers.
Hey,
everyone's got a story, you know what I mean?
But the thing is like, yeah, he might have been fucked with that much, but here's where I'm gonna fuck Eric up. At the end of the movie, was it really because the kids fucked with him, or has this guy been a dick that long that what happens at the end of the movie happened to him?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like people wouldn't just treat him shitty if he wasn't shitty to everyone else.
That's what I'm saying.
Wife.
Including his own wife. Yeah. So
that's a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
His own wife kills without remorse or anything.
Yeah.
She
smiles.
Glee, it's fucking Glee.
We're not going chronologically. Oh my god.
Yep. See, look, I've fucked it up, Eric. No, I think this guy's just been a dick, like you said, his whole life to the kids in the neighborhood. That's why they were shitty to him. And he's like, I'm going to get some payback this year. No, karma, bitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was kind of on board with what you guys were saying. You know, maybe this guy deserves what he's getting. Because, I mean, when Judy comes up and he's like, I don't need your help, you little whore. It's like, oh, my God, dude.
I'm just surprised this never got on my radar. I know you guys make fun of me for not seeing some of these old movies, and this is a great example. This movie, I really had never seen any of it. Nothing. I don't remember it. It was like out of nowhere for me. And as I put it on and you start getting these opening scenes, yeah, I'm getting vibes. Night of the Creeps came to mind just as sort of like a tonally thing.
Let's talk about how many Night of those do we have? We have Night of the Creeps, Night of the Demons, Night of the Comet.
Night of the Living Dead.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
The intro music, the Casio synth music that totally sounds like when Gunship formed their band, they were like, we really like that intro, Night of the Demons. I think we should have a band that writes music like that. Because this intro music sounds so like a Gunship song nowadays.
Well, I was thinking Carpenter, with
the little bit I have that in here with a little bit of Carpenter, which Gunship takes from Carpenter too. But I was like listening to that. I actually rewound it a couple of times, and I'm like, man, it sounds like a Gunship song. It has that feel, and I was like, I can see where they could pull some inspiration from.
Well, I mean, I honestly didn't get Gunship vibes off of it, so I don't know where my head was at. But I don't even know how many people know who Gunship is. But I mean, they're very much influenced by 80s synth horror scores, so I can definitely see why you thought that. We leave the old man and we follow Judy back to the house. And, you get a call from Jay on the phone. He doesn't want to go to where they're going to a costume party or a ball at school.
No, it's a high school dance.
Yeah, it's a high school Halloween dance. Yeah,
but
corny.
What I love about Jay, the shots of Jay here, is they show him eating vanilla wafers, and I was like, because he's a vanilla douchebag. I love that
he goes right back to eating them when he hangs up too. I'll pick you up in 20, and goes right back for him.
And I gotta say, Jay was my biggest disappointment because he really for a big part of this movie, he's vanilla and he's straight laced, but he seems like a decent person. And then we find out that he's just another buoy in the rape sea that is this movie.
You're getting into the the swapping of the tropes that I am identifying as I'm watching this movie. I'm like, Jay starts out as like, you think Jay's going to be the guy who saves the day, and turns out he's the biggest fucking douche of the whole group. I mean, Stooge probably is playing for second there, but he gets his. Actually, everybody gets theirs.
Even Sal at the beginning of it too.
What do you think I am, some kind of idiot or what?
Sal seems like he's going to be the bad boy that's going to get into all the shit in this.
And then you get a flip.
And honestly, when we get to Sal later on in this movie, when he bites the bullet, I'm like, fuck, dude, we just killed Sal. Like, he was starting to come around and be a decent character.
Well, it's kind of a weak death too. Like, I was expecting him to have a much bigger death, but it's
like a hero's death.
Yeah.
And right when he was figuring out how to hold his accent for more than 2 scenes.
Yeah.
After Billy is snooping on his sister, and
there you go. I was going to
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, did these people move to this town from Alabama? Because you got Billy like talking about his sister's boobs.
Wow, bodacious booby, sis.
And
Bodacious!
even mentioned her bodacious boobs.
Bodacious.
It's a fucking Ninja Turtle.
Guys, Halloween, man.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yep.
He's Michael
yeah,
Myers.
but Michael Myers is a psycho in that movie.
Oh.
We're not.
Yeah, I'm just saying, as far as influence, you got obviously Haddonfield. This neighborhood looks like Haddonfield.
Oh, dude, I wrote that down. It definitely looks like Haddonfield.
And this is how much of a shit he is. When Sal shows up, he offers him a quarter to tell him where the party is. He can't be bought for a quarter. You got to give me $1, motherfucker. I need $1 for you to
Which
rat out my
still
sister.
nothing.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I was looking at some 1988 commercials recently, and that could get you maybe like a pot of coffee. Like $1's not that bad at 1988, especially
Billy
for a
does not
kid.
need coffee,
You could-
Eric.
Listen, that's 4 rounds on. That's 4 rounds on the at the arcade.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
That's a valid point.
I guess.
Yeah,
That's maybe a few games on the air hockey. I don't know.
Yeah.
You
Sure,
make a good
right.
point. You make a good point.
$1 in 1988 is equivalent to $2.54 today.
Wow.
It's still
See?
nothing.
Big time moolah.
He sold out his sister for $2 in change.
$2. Cash.
What are you talking about? He's probably selling his sister's undies to his buddies for $5.
Oh, for God's sake.
So
Mike, thanks for throwing me under the bus with that.
yeah.
Appreciate it. I had something going there, and you fucked it up.
All right. Well, moving on. Yeah, we get Sal shows up, and I guess, like you said, they went out on one date or whatever, and he thinks he basically it's his girl or some shit. So he's
But
pissed
we don't
about
know
it
that
too.
until later. We just they make it seem like Sal is just this creepy dude coming after Judy.
Now go tell that pretty little piece you call your sister that handsome hunk Sal is here. And tell her I brung my pet snake for her to play with.
Who told the whole school that they hooked up? Probably him, right?
Yeah.
He's not
Well.
that great of a dude.
Well, because that's why Jay's hitting on her. We found that out later.
Right.
Is because
Right.
Sal, he's probably in the gym going, yeah, me and Judy went out, I mean, I got the third base on the first time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So Jay's like, damn, she kind of likes me. I'm going to try to get in on that action and get laid this weekend at the Halloween dance. Or
Jason, you sound like you've been a part of something like this before.
It's every 80s teenage movie.
That's just a high school experience.
Yeah, hello.
Pretty much.
Did you not go to high school?
No, I didn't.
Okay. There you go.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Try to avoid that. He was in prison.
Look at those tattoos, man.
Well, I mean, we establish everything that Judy doesn't want to go to this party at the Hull House, which apparently has a reputation in high school. We don't really know what it is just yet, and that Angela has a reputation. He mentions that Angela's having a party at Hull House, and it just kind of sets up the tone for where we're going. She doesn't really want to go to this party, but she's into Jay. Jay's into her, so we're gonna go to the party and see what happens. And then we find out later that Jay's just a big douchebag, and we keep cutting. We're intercutting between them and Stooge, Helen, and Raj driving to find this party as well. And Stooge is just he is a magnet on screen. Like as much of a douche as Stooge is, I think he's absolutely necessary for this movie. I think he works in everything that he's doing, the comedic beats that he's hitting. Like I would miss him if he wasn't in this movie.
Yeah, eat a bowl of fuck.
Yeah, he's genuinely great. Like he's one of the better characters in this movie. And what's weird about that is like the opening scene, like you immediately think, oh God, like this is our douchebag of this movie.
Oh yeah.
And then the characters keep getting worse and worse and worse. And
He gets out douched.
yeah, he gets out-douched by everybody else that shows up later. Yeah.
Well, and it feels like nobody actually wants to go to this fucking party. Like, it feels like, well, they want to go to a party, but nobody wants to be around the individual throwing the damn thing. Not only that, like, the groups don't seem like they like each other. It's like, how did you get here?
It's like three different segments at
Yeah.
school. Like they don't all really hang out with each other,
No.
but they know each other.
Yeah.
I mean, because to me, Angela's character, like that group of people is like the people I hung out with in junior high and high school, the ones that like metal music and dark things and stuff like that. And then you had the jocks, which is like Jay and stuff like that. You had the Erics over here, the douchebags drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon, and then stuff like that. So,
oh man, God.
Well, I was having a hard time figuring out why Helen hangs out with Roger and Stooge. Did they make that clear, or did I just miss that?
Helen and Raj?
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Helen and Raj seem like they're like very, they're not douchebags. Why are they hanging out with this dude? Like,
exactly.
They are like the ones that probably they look like the kids in school that do their homework and stuff like that. Like he said, Roger said, my dad's a preacher.
That's why he's not into all this witchcraft shit. He's like, my dad's a preacher. I don't want nothing to do with this shit,
Band nerds.
Band nerds.
That actually does check out. Yeah.
That could work.
Yes.
Yeah, because you get some some weird crosses with music and band. Yeah. My son was in the band.
From someone who was a band nerd for about 9 years. Yeah.
What'd you play?
Tell them what you played.
Oh, keep going.
What did you play?
Tell them what you played. Tell them.
So anyway, as the movie keeps going, we get
was
to
it
the
the
next
triangle?
He played the xylophone.
I played the clarinet. Okay.
Oh, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Thank you.
Not inherently. It's just how he did it. That's what the problem is.
Says the guy that held wood between his hands for 10 years.
But no, what I find interesting is they start talking about the legacy of Hull House. And this guy apparently went crazy and mutilated everybody and committed suicide. And it was so messy that they couldn't figure out what. Then how the fuck did they know somebody committed suicide?
Well, this is some clunky exposition. We've got some clunky exposition. There's a underground stream that we never see for some reason. We only hear it.
Water.
Yeah, an underground stream.
Oh my God, that bothered me so much. Like, you set this thing up and you think at the end it's going to have this big payoff. Yeah. And then it never comes into play ever
wait,
again.
we're getting to the end, and I've got things to say about the end, okay?
Okay.
Just so stupid.
But they also hint to the fact that Mr. Hull was banging the corpses in this place, too.
And rumor has it old man Hull really loved his clientele. I mean in the carnal sense.
Yeah, a little necrophilia. Crack open a cold one.
Jesus
Christ.
Oh.
Fucking sure, that's your fucking tagline right there.
Crack open
a cold one. There's your title.
Hey, how about an orgy?
Apparently there was actually a wall in front of the house when they shot all of this, but it was very short. So all the shots of this wall had to be blocked to where they couldn't see the end of the wall. So that's why they always go to the same little section of wall every time they go to the wall.
It works. Yeah, it definitely works. I didn't notice it.
So we've got Jay picking up, Judy and Franny and Max and heading to this party.
Well, thank God you two have the Halloween spirit. At least I won't be the only one wearing a costume.
Wait, what kind of car?
I was about to say, I was going to give you your moment to talk about the fucking car. Go for it.
I don't know what year it is, but it's definitely probably a 64.5 to 69 Mustang.
Jay pulled up and I was like, Jason's going to say something about this motherfucking car.
Dude, that's my favorite fucking car, dude. I love the 60s model Mustangs.
Man, Jason, I might have said this before. I almost bought a 69 in high school, but it had rust and had no AC, and I lived in South Florida, and I couldn't do it. I was so close. Baby blue. It was so pretty.
Ooh,
but
nice.
I had a Hot Wheel once.
Hey, I'm talking about a car I didn't buy, so.
Yeah, I actually owned a '66 Mustang that I was restoring and had to sell because of a divorce. But
okay, nobody cares.
Never get divorced, guys. Trust me. Trust me.
Hey, I've done it twice.
Oh, once for me. Anyone else got a divorce around here?
No.
Guys? No.
Josh has been married for like 700 years.
Yep.
Brittany, we good?
All right.
We're good.
This is another reason why I love Stooge, because he gets a flat tire on the way to trying to find Hull House. And, he always carries a spare, but he can't promise a tire iron. It's like,
I mean, that is a lot to ask. You can't always have
the
both.
way he delivers it, though, man, is great. But I will say,
one literally doesn't work without the other.
That's just the kind of person he is, man. He's fucking punk rock. I got a spare, but no tire iron.
He likes the dead Kennedys. He's not carrying that around.
Hey, all right. This is the thing I want to bring up about this whole thing. you have Jay and them pull up in the Mustang and they're playing jokes on. They just take off and leave them on the side of the road. I mean, they're obviously not that far from Hull House at this point. But the one thing I want to point out, and I had to keep rewinding it. Stooge is holding a flashlight in his hand, and the way he's holding it looks like it says "Hell awaits."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, Slayer reference in a movie.
Well,
fuck yes.
Well, when you say that, I'm thinking like, hell awaits them where they're going.
Oh yeah, that too. But I'm thinking
So
Slayer.
now-
Yeah, the thematic element.
Yeah, the foreshadowing of hell awaits.
So that makes me want to watch this again to find out what I missed, because I mean the vanilla thing was the thing that got me the first time. I was like, Jay's vanilla, he's eating vanilla wafers, that's good. But I will say, when Max rolls up and he's like, hey, do you guys need a hand? That is the worst shit in the world. If you ever do that to me, just know that I'm seething fucking hating you on the inside, okay? That shit
you guys
bothers me.
You're going to the same place.
Yeah. It's a dick
Sure,
move.
it is.
It's a real dick move.
That was a dick. Well, he is the douchebag. So yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still going to be pissed in 5 minutes. If we were going 5 hours, I'd cool off.
Yeah, because you look at Stooge, he's this like punk rock big motherfucker. Do you want to piss this guy off at a party
Exactly.
that you're about to go to?
Him and his mag light.
His mag light.
Yes. His light that says hell awaits.
These flashlights are huge in this movie.
Yeah, every one of them.
They're like 4 feet long.
It was the 80s, guys. All they had was D-cell batteries.
God.
10 D batteries running down the center of them. They weigh about 55 pounds.
So we were talking about inflation earlier, so I wanted to ask how much money's worth of snacks do you think Angela stole from this convenience store?
Oh, about $75.
In the 80s?
No, I'm talking about now.
Oh, now. Well, you're you're probably right. Inflation is a bitch at the grocery store.
Back then, that was probably about $25, $30 because she was still some bottles of wine too, I think.
But
she put a couple.
I mean, Mike already gave us the inflation rate, but let's not worry about that.
But when they show Suzanne's face in a close-up, like, she's wearing so much makeup, dude. She looks like she has a clay face.
I just want to look good for the boys.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier, though. That's the HD problem. That you just couldn't.
Yeah, they have
tell
like
back in the
theater
day.
makeup on. Yeah. It's not fair to.
I mean, and honestly, back then, when I was watching this movie at 14, I was not looking. at that.
Not looking at the makeup. No.
I was like the guys behind the counter.
But she's, Suzanne is completely obsessed with the boys. She wants to look good for the boys when she gets to this party. Angela's more interested in scaring the shit out of them. Now, when we get there and we find that there's still coffins in the house, which is a creepy element. Like, here's my question: have they been to this house before, or was this just a bright idea? And we're like, let's go have a party at Hull House? Because
no, I don't think any of them have been here.
Yeah, I had not gotten that impression.
Yeah, I got the idea that it was more like something like the town knew about.
Yeah, it's just sort of an infamous house in town.
Yeah.
That Max knows everything about. He knows everything. He's read the book.
Yeah, he's telling a story about Indians and stuff when they get into the house later or whatnot.
Settlers and all kinds of stuff.
Do we find that at long last he's actually a docent?
And
Lord,
the funny thing is the only reason they dress him up like a doctor is so that he can set up, hey, there's water underneath this house, and then they never use it ever again.
Yeah, they're like, how can we hear water underground? Oh, make him a doctor and use a stethoscope.
It's almost like the couple in Halloween Kills, and the guy dresses up as a doctor, and the reason they get away is because he had to go back and get his stethoscope. It's one of those clever ideas the writers came up with. Is Franny dressed up as a nurse too, or is she supposed to be Peter Pan?
She's Peter Pan.
Okay,
I think.
She's Peter Pan.
The first glimpse, it looked like she was wearing like what do you call them? She was wearing scrubs, but and looking at the tights and the shoes she's wearing. Did you guys notice the shoes?
Yeah.
No, I did not notice the shoes.
They're legit like elf shoes almost. Yeah.
Jason was looking at other parts of her anatomy.
Yes, of course. That's what I've been looking at since I watched this movie freaking 30 years ago.
I don't think he knows we watched a movie.
Stop looking at me.
We finally get everybody in the house. We've got this odd group of people in the house. You've got Jay and Judy. Jay's just wanting to get Judy upstairs, and we've got the punk rock element again. This is where I'm feeling the Return of the Living Dead aspect, because you got the punk rockers in there, in the graveyard. Again,
Leanna Quigley dancing in the middle.
Angela. There's already been Angela has this reputation for being into witchcraft and whatnot, and she decides let's have a seance. And then you've also got Suzanne dancing around, showing her assets to everybody in front of the fireplace.
Yeah, I like. What's it? Is it Max that's kneeled down, sitting there, and he's just
what the doctor ordered.
I mean, and what's funny is Franny walks over and just talks to him, and like she doesn't even get mad. She's just. I mean, he's literally right here. Like, hello.
Yeah, no, why are you shoving your ass in my boyfriend's face? Or
nothing.
You
like
pervert,
that.
Stop looking at that.
We're all
Nothing.
just really cool like this, and this is how we party. We do that.
There's a lot of stuff like that though in this, where they're just like, here, steal her car, and everybody's like, yeah, steal her car, it's fine. Look at her ass. Yeah, look at her ass. It's totally
really
fine.
If demons wouldn't have shown up, I think there would have been a hell of an orgy going on in this house.
Yeah, 100%. It is that friend group.
Yeah. And this is where I start getting this is where the Evil Dead references start coming into play for me.
Oh,
there's a sound in the basement. You've got the Sam Raimi camera shots, all of that stuff.
Yeah, the POV. Yeah.
So I think this movie would honestly make a good triple bill with Return of the Living Dead and Evil Dead.
Speaking of the sounds being made, does anybody else notice the incredibly annoying echo effect that's on almost everything in this movie?
I didn't. No.
No, I didn't either.
It's this really, Jason's shaking his head. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
It's this, they're trying to make it sound like the sound is echoing, but it's this really synthetic echo effect.
Yeah.
And it's
like a really shitty reverb echo. Like, it's
it
horrible.
just permeates so much of this movie.
The demon voices, the way they recorded those was with a microphone and the guy saying the lines into a trash can to get the natural reverb off of it.
Get down in there and just do all the dialogue for.
No, the voices are fine. It's more of a sound effect kind of thing.
Sir, you got to come out. Do you want to play? The party's just getting started.
I feel like I'm at a Guar concert.
Stooge finds a mirror by accident because they need one bigger than Suzanne's compact mirror. They've all got to be able to look in it at the same time. And then, they start doing their little seance, and then the glass breaks because Helen freaks out. She sees a vision of a demon, and
no, she sees her own death.
Yeah. I love that shot of the demon
she also
head.
saw the buck-toothed goat gator.
What?
No, that's her dead head, dude. That's not a demon. That's her dead body.
The demon's head first.
The little demon guy.
Yeah, the buck-toothed goat gator.
The goat gator.
Yeah, fair enough.
That does lead into my favorite shot in this movie, though, where the mirror is broken.
I
on
was
the
about
ground.
to say the same thing.
And they're all standing over it.
Yep.
It's a great shot.
Dude, I'm not even quite sure how they did it. Was that literally just mirror on the floor and they all stood in the right spot, or what?
I think so. It looks like they've got pieces of the mirror flipped over to hide where the camera is. And then if you really look, you can see that people are standing on boxes or something so that they can get the right angle.
We've got a cameraman here, Brett. How did they do that?
Yeah.
I really wasn't gonna say anything because I was like, I don't want to be a pretentious asshole.
Lay it out, bro.
I'd be willing to bet the way they did it was probably with like a mid-range lens, like 35, 50 millimeters, because that'll allow you to actually pull it in close enough, but also angle it to where it's far back enough, because the closer the camera is to the glass, the more likely you are to get it in the shards of the glass. The camera's probably further back, and they'd probably put like a mid to longer lens on it to get it in frame.
There you have it, guys. And
maybe I'm full of shit. Who the fuck knows?
Hey, listen, it's a creative shot, and clearly it took. We don't know how they did it, which means they put effort into making that, and it's great.
They very clearly could have just pointed the camera in the room and had the exact same conversation. But this goes back to what I was saying earlier. When you actually film it like you give a shit, it just adds to everything.
You've also got the shot where they're all standing in a circle and you've got the camera panning around to everybody's face. That's another thing they kind of take from Evil Dead as well.
There's another part in there where Judy is standing slightly behind everybody when they are showing the whole room, and she's lit. and no one else is, kind of, saying that she's going to be the final girl and all that stuff. There's little things like that all throughout this movie with the lighting and the cinematography that if you know to pay attention to that stuff, you can kind of tell what's going to happen. And I love shit like that.
When we get to this, they've awoken these demons in this house. This is when this movie really takes off and starts hitting some sweet spots for me. We get the whole the dolly zoom and all of that gets up, and then you get Suzanne's possession, demonic infestation, if you will. Apparently, it's a very bad smell when it comes through. It gets very cold, and that's where they have that circular shot where it's showing everybody's face.
Yeah, it's funny because the possession, actually, the way people get possessed is almost zombie-like. Like there has to be some kind of like contact or something, whether it's breathing in, whether it's getting burnt, whatever it is. And that I actually had a theory that they came up with Night of the Demons because of that, and the fact that at certain points they actually move like zombies.
Oh,
yeah, they do.
They don't say anything about
at the end of the movie. They just kind of wander.
Yeah, they're sauntering.
Yeah.
Well, except for Angela, who hovers at times.
Yes,
which I love.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
On a hoverboard.
I thank you. That is what I thought. I said I love to imagine this being done with a hoverboard, and there's just takes of her on the hallway going.
I love that it's all transferred. You've got Suzanne, who's completely changed. She's got this demonic voice in one particular aspect of it. She kisses Angela, then it's been transferred. It's funny, the actress who plays Angela was like, if I knew that I was going to be so popular from kissing Linnea Quigley, I'll kiss her every day. Like she didn't realize how much that would play with people, but she was very excited that people.
People like that shit.
People liked that shit.
Yeah,
it's
they play with people every day.
But I do, before everybody starts getting possessed, I love this whole monologue that Angela has about the difference between a possession and a haunting. Haunted houses for people who have died and their spirits left in the house. Apparently what we've got going on here is, demons that have only existed in spirit form, and they're completely evil. I think that's a really good aspect to all of this. I think it plays into where we're going. And, like I said, this right here is where I'm along for the ride for the rest of this movie. I do think it starts to meander in some spots and kind of stays on some things too long. But, I'm loving the camera work here. I'm loving the lighting. When you start getting everybody possessed and the makeup they've got on, it's creepy as fuck looking. Her hovering through the hallways. Like, I can only imagine if I saw this movie when I was 8 or 9 years old on cable or whatever, it was one of those that I just stumbled upon. I think this movie would have freaked me the fuck out, dude. Like, there's some good looking shots in this.
You have to think Deadites here.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
Yeah, they kind of look like Deadites. They're not as maniacal as Deadites, but there is like a kind of a sense of humor here that that kind of feels Evil Dead-ish, a little kind of kookiness,
Yeah, with a little bit of Fright Night fangs.
Yeah, but it's become more of a tense situation now because they don't know what's happening, and it's like, okay, well, let's just split up. Everybody's here to party or fuck, so the people who want to fuck are going to go try and find rooms to do it in. And Angela just hangs around. I love Suzanne's whole thing when she's walking around, and you've got Sal trying to get with her, and all these guys are like oogling over her, and she makes her comment about stooge.
Maybe I'm in the mood for pork tonight.
It's so good, dude.
Yeah, he wants the pork, all right. I love that whole thing when she goes into the bathroom and we get our first like change.
Yeah.
Transformation.
Yeah, dude, that's a pretty cool look. What's his name? Our special face guy that goes on to marry her. He might have played with booze, but he's thinking she's attractive with all that makeup on her face. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to kiss that. It's like, did they make out when she had that makeup on?
Yeah, did they hook up with makeup on?
Oh, 100%. Are you fucking kidding me? Absolutely.
It's a huge reason as to why he started doing special effects in the first place.
I hope so.
She's like, you want to get with this? You got to get with this when I'm in this makeup.
He probably made her call him Jay.
I think he actually alludes to that in the behind the scenes stuff too, when he starts talking about how they were into each other. I think he says, "Oh, if she's pretty with all this on, I mean, imagine it." It's one of those kind of things.
You have to think a special effects master or big time special effects guy would love that. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about Jay and how all Jay wants to do is fuck Judy. Okay.
Okay, listen. Jay is trying to seal the deal. She has been hesitant. Okay, you know this up front throughout the film. She's hesitant, and he thinks he's going to seal the deal in this like abandoned place where they're like embalming bodies. Like he thinks she's going to want to hook up in on like a stretcher.
Come on, several people died in here. Doesn't that get you hot?
Yeah, come on.
She's pissed off that he didn't wear a costume. You think she's gonna want to fucking hear?
Rigor mortis?
There's something stiff in here besides the dead bodies.
Well, his whole like wink wink thing to Max and Franny, like, hey, get the fuck out of here. I'm trying to get with this. And then Max and Franny decide they're gonna fuck in a coffin.
Now that's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's uncomfortable too. That's also the funny thing is it didn't work out.
Yeah.
It was a failed experiment.
It's like fucking inside a couch.
Oh, Max, I don't bend that way.
Damn it, this is worse than my brother's V-dub.
He is the guy that would fuck somebody in the back of a Volkswagen in a very uncomfortable position.
You can't have that opportunity and not use it.
No,
That's true.
True.
How often do you get to?
Exactly.
Not often.
I mean, usually you got to go to a cemetery with a shovel. It's a whole fucking
It's a
ordeal.
whole.
That's a whole thing. Too much work.
We're back to necrophilia again.
Dig 'em up.
I was gonna say when he fails, he just leaves.
Yeah.
He shuts her in the fucking room and leaves her in there locked like she's locked in.
And does he lock her in there on purpose, or is it just an accident?
Wait, does he lock her? I thought the demons locked her in.
Yeah, I don't know who locked it, but she
No, he
couldn't
definitely
follow.
locks her in for sure.
What a dick.
Yeah, he's going to go in the other room and do it with Suzanne, so he doesn't want Judy walking in on that. He still wants the opportunity to be with Judy, but he wants to do Suzanne too.
Yeah, the embalming room was a failure, so he's going to move on to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Just, as long as it's
Is
disgusting.
it a bathroom? Because it looked like a broom closet.
Oh, really? I thought we were in the bathroom where she was from before, but
Maybe it
not.
was.
Maybe
But while this is happening with them in the bathroom is when we get Angela's dance scene for Sal.
Listen, I love this dance scene, and it starts off shaky. When she's starting to do some of this stuff, I'm like, this is kind of like almost a little cringy, but then she kicks it into gear. And I gotta say, guys, I had to look up the song Stigmata Martyr by Bauhaus. Yes. Dude, that is a great song. I just put it on my playlist. That shit is amazing.
Watching this again made me want to buy the vinyl, and I couldn't find it because it's all sold out everywhere, of course.
Oh,
Because
man.
everybody wants it.
I
But
am
the
like
soundtrack is
vibing to this.
killer.
Yeah, this dance sequence. I'm
Yeah.
like, hell yeah.
I don't care
good.
what you think too. Not only that, Angela's hot during this dance scene. I don't care. Man, she's freaking hot.
And only in the dance scene.
I was gonna say she's so scary. She's so scary.
I like her post burned, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
I like her when she's a little crispy. Like original recipe.
Yeah, that shot when I just was warming my hands in the fire. That shit's awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was badass.
But Sal's got sense enough to know something ain't right here. He's getting out. He's going to go find somebody to get out of here. And that's when he encounters Suzanne. And he's just like, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Apparently, Sal is a high-class guy, too. I mean, he lives in a house that's got plastic covers on the furniture. Like
That stuck out to me too. That's weird for his character, right?
It's
Like
a
I
thing.
immediately
He's Italian. It's a thing.
Oh,
My
okay.
family's
Okay.
Italian.
Yeah,
I'm
there
telling
it
you,
is.
this
There it
is
is.
fucking real. I saw that and I went, "Yep." My grandmother straight up had fucking plastic slip covers on the couch, and none of us knew why.
There's that, but also I think it says something that like maybe his persona is a little put on of of this sort of whatever persona he's got. Maybe he comes from less humble beginnings than you might expect.
Yeah.
Maybe he has a Mustang at home. He just didn't feel like driving it.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the juxtaposition of a lot of these characters starts to happen. Like, you start to find out that Sal's got a fairly decent head on his shoulders, and he knows something's not right here. You see that Jay's thinking with his dick and not with his head. Max and Franny just want to fuck, and that's it. And, they seem not bothered by anything that's going on in this house. And I think, honestly, if they would have left them alone, they would have just fucked and left, and that would have been that.
Yeah.
But
and then you got Helen and Roger outside. They're leaving. They don't want nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, I love that Helen just disappears and Roger's like, well, I'm gonna go sleep it off in the car, you know?
Dude,
Yeah,
the
Roger-
payoff of the Helen falling on the car is excellent.
Yeah, it is. It's so
Yeah.
good.
And it's great that he thinks it's Stooge, and lo and behold, I mean, and you're right. Okay, so it was her that she saw in the mirror because her face looks just like it looks on the windshield right there. Okay.
Yeah, she sees that shot in the mirror. Yeah.
I've watched this movie twice and just put that together. So do with that what
If
you
it
will.
makes you feel
All right.
any better, I did not know what was going on until in the mirror until I saw her face on the windshield.
There you go. There you go.
And that's I mean, that would scare the shit out of you, right? You see your own death.
Yeah.
I mean, that is legitimately scary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
but before we get too far ahead, because we're right here to the most famous scene that there's, like when Sal finds her, she keeps saying something about her face.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to make it pretty. You know, what's wrong with my face? And then we get the infamous, you know, tits out and starts playing with the lipstick. And I mean, dude, I'll have to give it up for the special effects guy. I
Yeah.
mean, not nowadays because of digital. That shit looks real.
Yeah.
I mean, you could not tell me that isn't a real set of boobs.
Yeah.
And she just pushed a freaking lipstick into her
But
nipple.
see, the problem is in high def, they look strangely porous.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
And
They look
shiny.
like- yeah,
Yes.
shiny. They look a little shiny.
Well,
Yes.
it's because it was gelatin. He didn't want it to look fake. He wanted to try and make it look as real as he could. And yes,
It looks good, even in HD.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can tell it's
Yeah.
not real, but it looks pretty great.
It holds up.
yeah, you can see where they blended a lot of the makeup and whatnot, but I think it looks pretty realistic compared to some of the other shit we've seen in horror movies.
Oh God, definitely.
But can anybody tell me why?
Why she puts the lipstick in her nipple?
Well,
No,
remember, but they did the whole thing for
No.
Videodrome. They were paying homage to it because
But
this
see,
movie
in
pays homage
Videodrome,
to a lot.
it almost makes sense. Like
Yeah.
in
We'll
this,
attempt.
it's just for no reason.
I will attempt. Okay. They're playing with some theme with her that she's obsessed with her looks, right? She's saying, like, don't look at me. She wants her makeup to be perfect. She has some obsession with makeup. That's about as far as it goes. I mean, it's just, I'm just gonna and honestly, guys, this is I don't know about you guys. This is one of the craziest shit I've ever seen in a movie before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is completely cuckoo. And when it goes in, I'm like, oh my God, it went in, and then her finger goes in after it.
And
all
then
the
when
way
she
in, and you're
pulls
just
it
like,
out, you don't see an opening. It literally like
everything
it-
looks fine. There's no
like
gore
it-
here.
yeah.
It just goes in.
That's because it was made of gelatin. The gelatin actually sealed back up. Yeah.
My emotional escalation for this scene was so profound because it was just like it was confusion because it does look so realistic. And so at first I'm sitting here watching it going like, okay, this is just another reason to put tits on screen. And then she starts like and then she starts spiraling and then I'm like, okay, this is her losing her mind. And then she starts putting it in and that's where I started going, oh. Like it's so intense and you don't see it coming, but you spend so long thinking that it's her body. It's really jarring because it's all one shot.
Yeah.
But let's not get it twisted. It's also very stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Was this the Fibonacci spiral? I'd like to know if this is a Fibonacci spiral. You guys familiar with this?
No.
I
The
don't
golden
know.
ratio. I'm just curious if we have a golden ratio to this nipple thing.
You know,
But,
it might be there when
it's-
she actually starts to draw on her. Yeah.
I think it's relative to the amount of lipstick still left.
They're trying to tell us something here, something very deep.
Well, I do want to say when Steve Johnson made this whole thing and when they were going to shoot it, he was like, you have to shoot this on this day at this time because it's made of gelatin. It's going to fall apart. He's like, if we don't shoot right now, you might as well fucking eat it. And I was like, well, that wouldn't be a bad thing.
It's just Jello.
It just sounds like a great business idea.
Honey, I made torso Jello.
Yes. Did you get that at B cup or C cup?
The lipstick thing was actually it compacted too. It was in 3 different pieces. So when she pushes it, actually goes in too, and it gets smaller and smaller. And then she actually just pushes like a small little piece in there. So I did that scene, those makeup effects, like that's all like what I'm walking away from this movie going, this movie is really fucking good. And I don't think people talk about this movie enough. And I'm
No,
so
not
glad,
at all.
Like I'm so glad we're
I
talking
can't believe
about
I
it.
haven't heard of this movie till now.
Yeah.
And I like horror movies, and I haven't even heard of it.
And
where have I been?
But, in regards to all the stuff we're talking about in this, like, I was afraid, I'm kind of glad that we're all sort of vibing on this movie, because I was afraid, Eric being such an Evil Dead fan, that you might walk away from this movie going, this movie just wants to be Evil Dead. Yeah. Or even Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah. I think it was the opposite. I enjoyed it for that reason. I
think it's self-aware enough that it doesn't feel like a ripoff. It feels like it has its own identity while still paying homage to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
What you said.
So let's talk about Jay's death, because I fucking love this.
That's a good one too.
Good. Well, yeah, because you get to see frontal freaking Suzanne. Yeah, that's the best part of Jay's death.
No, I'm talking about her pushing her fucking thumbs through his eyeballs.
I still don't think Jason knows we watched a movie, guys.
Right.
I think he watched a succession of screenshots.
Yes.
That's why his notes are lacking. He didn't watch the whole thing.
His notes are lacking.
I went from fast forward boobs, bush, fast forward boobs, fast forward ass.
Yeah, you got the Cliff's notes.
But yeah, when she pushes her thumbs into his eyes, I'm like, whoa, that's pretty intense. I mean, it looks good for a good, nice close-up shot. Like I said, this guy knocks it out of the park with the freaking.
Yeah, all the gore in this is excellent. Yeah. All the effects are so good. Yeah,
it's actually one of the scenes that got cut short to give it an R rating.
Yep.
Okay.
They have a habit of doing that with those scenes.
My favorite thing is that the scenes they cut short are all violent, and that's what gave it an X rating.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, not the bush or boobs or
right.
Nothing like that.
Yeah, the 80s, the censoring in the 80s was just something to behold, I guess, man, because they were not letting anything slip through the MPAA.
Well,
in the 80s.
I mean, you say that, but like if you look at movies that are made now and then compare it to a movie like this, we don't get anything like this anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's even stricter now. Yeah, it's even stricter now. And in fact, I think now you get more violence and less
nudity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I think movies about like Nymphomaniac, back then they wouldn't have had any problem with it. Nowadays, it's an X rating or not rated or whatever you want to call it, unrated.
Well, I think there's a lot more going on in Nymphomaniac than.
Well,
just
you know what I mean, but I think in the mid to late 80s, it probably just been R rated. No violence.
I haven't watched that movie Possession yet, which I understand there's some crazy shit that happens in that one, which I'm anxious to find out what that is.
Oh, I started that, dude. I started it. I'm like a third of the way through it. It's weird.
Now it's definitely going to go up my watch list.
Stooge has been possessed because he's got demon herpes from Angela and ripped out his tongue.
No, we can't talk. I mean, I want to talk about that though, dude. Like when she's like, "Oh, kiss me, Stooge," and then she just fucking bites his tongue off.
Oh yeah.
Like, holy shit, dude! I wasn't expecting that the first time I watched this.
Yeah. The only thing missing from that scene is when she spits it out. I wish we had seen it like skip across the floor.
Yeah. Yes. See, you would get that nowadays, thanks to Terrifier. You would get stuff like that nowadays.
Yeah.
But, this is where we start to see Angela's demonic makeup and whatnot. I think whenever everybody starts changing into demons, when Angela, Suzanne, and Stooge start changing into demons, they all look really great. I think they kind of lacked on the makeup with, like, Franny and Max, but we don't see them very much.
Well, they just kind of more like zombies more than demons.
Jay's makeup looks good when he's got his eyes popped out.
Oh,
that looks really good.
Yeah, some have more than others. Yeah, because what's his name? The
dude dressed up like a doctor looks like he barely changed at all.
Yeah,
right. There's a shot of him later, and you can't even really tell.
But he got his arm ripped off. Stooge fucking slams his arm in that coffin.
Well, same with Sal. Sal's kind of underdone as well.
He just has a fence post.
Yeah, he's got a fence post.
Which he ends up pulling out. So after that, it's not even that.
But that's what I wanted to talk about is when Stooge becomes a demon and he kills Max and he walks up and takes what's her name, Franny's head, just quick death. It was kind of not really great. And then he like you said, keeps slamming Max's arm in there to cut it off. One of the special effects things I like in this movie is later when Judy walks in there, that arm jumping off the floor and grabbing, dude, that looks really good.
Yeah, the dead-eyed arm.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's like grabs her and holding on to the ankle.
They're
Maybe it's
creepy
just
and
because
they're
it's fresh,
kooky.
but it made me think of House as well, Josh.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
The again, the HD transfer, you can straight up see the string.
Oh, I watched it on like standard definition, paid for it on Amazon Prime. So I was like, you can't see the strings.
But we get Sal, Roger's been outside. He ain't playing this shit no more. He's trying to find somebody. He can't get out. Like, they're stuck here. This wall,
the gate's gone.
The gate has disappeared. So Raj is back in the house. Sal finds Raj, and they're both just like, dude, we got to get the fuck out of this place. And then we get Judy out of her room. I think that's a good little thing. Like, you think it could be a demon playing with them, and then she actually comes out of the room when Sal opens the door. But this is where like Sal starts to come around, and I'm actually kind of rooting for Sal a little bit when he's teamed up with Raj. But this is where I really like. This is what makes me hate Judy as the protagonist in this movie. She does nothing but scream throughout the entire rest of this movie. Her acting is just not where it needs to be compared to everybody else's in this.
Well, she doesn't scream, dude. At one point, she becomes freaking Ripley in the basement.
Oh, with the flamethrower.
Yeah, she becomes freaking Ripley down there.
And that's fine, but she does scream a lot, and they don't give her a ton to do. Lines wise, she doesn't have a lot of great lines or any cool real moments.
Can we talk about how there's an active gas line still in this building?
Yeah, right. This whole
like the utilities are on.
Right.
Somebody paid that bill. The fucking county's shutting that shit off.
I was gonna say I miss a week and they shut my shit off.
Dude,
it was abandoned for decades.
It was just on auto deduction, auto pay for months on end. Hundreds of months
through Telegram because it's 1988.
But Roger and Judy have to end up back in the house, of course, because they can't escape the outside. After Sal dies, Angela and Stooge are coming after them. I love all these shots of Stooge and Angela in the house going through the hallways, them in their makeup. It's all really fucking creepy looking.
And floating Angela.
Well, and just running through this haunted house is fun. Like I just love it's kind of a single location, and you get you get these sort of like cat and mouse stuff. I enjoy that.
So I missed that. Maybe you said this earlier. Did they actually film this in a real house, or is this a soundstage? They did.
It's a real house because they use it in part 2 also.
Well, okay. The oven area, like the cremation area,
I don't know
if that's part of the house.
I don't know
that might be a set. I'm not sure.
That'd be a real convenient coincidence.
Yeah.
Hey, this house has a crematorium in the basement.
It's perfect.
But Jason,
take it.
Jason, you say she goes all Ripley here. Like I don't know. This is the part of the movie that I'm just like cringing at the most is when she pulls this pipe out, lights the gas, but the fire stunt, like when she lights Stooge and Angela on fire, that shit is awesome.
Yeah, we've got people on fire, baby. I like it.
Damn right.
No CGI flames here. We got people on fire. Dude, I've been on such a kick. I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I'm on such a kick watching these old movies. When I see like a bridge blow up and a bunch of horses fall into a river, holy fuck, it's insane. If I see like a car accident.
Well, I know which part of Braveheart you liked the most.
No, seriously. When I see like a car accident and it's just two real like stainless steel cars driving into each other, Mad Max style. Fuck
stainless
that's
steel.
awesome.
What are you watching? DeLoreans run into each other?
I'm talking about like the cars were steel, not plastic, and
Yeah.
I love it, man. And
it's like that car crash in Shivers. Remember when that car T-bones them in Shivers and the fucking windshield pops out?
Excellent.
Like that shit. Yeah, it looks real.
It's so small compared to like what a car crash in John Wick would be nowadays.
Yeah.
Which again, you have to credit John Wick for doing some great practical stuff as well. But I'm just saying, like, even a small accident in an old movie feels more visceral than a lot of like huge set pieces that we see now. So I'm just at a point now in my movie watching where I just love anything that feels real. So you light somebody on fire, I'm going to enjoy it. 2 people on fire, even better.
Taken out of context, that is an interesting statement.
When I'm running for office When I'm running for public office, that will
Yeah.
be played in some kind of smear campaign, I'm sure.
You're not going to reach into a crematorium with freaking galvanized pipe and just pull that shit out and start pulling it across the room. Yeah, that shit ain't fucking happening.
What
She
is
ain't
the
Hulk.
Pineapple Express version of that?
Yeah.
It is funny that there's all this extra pipe that you can just pull out of.
Yeah, you just pull on out of it because they didn't have flexible hoses at that point in time. I mean, if you did, it might have been going to your heater, but not for a crematorium. This shit's piped in with holes cut in it to have a burner. Yeah, you're not just pulling pipe across the room.
Isn't she holding the metal pipe with her bare hand?
With her bare hand. But the fire is burning at the end. It's actually not burning in the pipe.
Which is why it stays lit whenever it stops. Yeah.
That's the cringiest part of this whole thing for me is when she's like, "Turn the valve, Raj, turn the valve." I just fucking hate her in this scene.
If you notice, he's turning it the wrong way too. Like if you really look at it,
Yeah, he's
Fucking
doing
Raj,
lefty,
dude.
lefty loosey, buddy.
Uh-huh.
He's turning it the coward's direction.
Yeah, because at this point, like we said, Raj is smart, but this is when he becomes a whiny bitch, is like all through this part right here.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "My daddy told me to pray, I need to pray." And then he's in the corner crying while you got the main character of this movie who can't act and has sucky ass dialogue trying to be, Ripley here. And then she goes back to being horrible again. And then he becomes badass again for a little bit.
I don't know if Raj so much decides he's going to be a hero. He just decides, they're not, he says to himself, "They ain't going to get me." And he just is fucking out, dude. I think it's out of the goodness of his heart that he's helping Judy over this wall, He's just like, "I got to get the fuck out of here."
You won't get me.
Yeah, his entire character arc is leave.
Yeah.
Which is,
because he's probably
reasonable.
watched horror movies and he's like, "Fuck these white people, I'm out of here."
But then again, like I said, we get outside and he's helping out. Like he said, he does kind of become a badass. When you go to climb up that fucking wall with barbed wire,
yeah,
he fucking mans up. He's like, "I'm going up this damn thing." And then he even, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I mean, damn, grabbing a hold of barbed wire and just pulling yourself up a fucking 10, 12-foot wall.
Yeah.
I mean, she does it too.
Yeah.
Manning up would have been make sure that she gets over the wall first.
That's true. Yeah. But he's smart because that's the other thing I never thought of is like, he could have picked her up and put her on top of the wall, but she wouldn't have been able to pull him up.
That's true.
But then again, he used that barbed wire to pull himself out.
Yeah, he climbed out without help. Yeah.
I do want to go back and talk about when Judy sees Jay and his eyes are popped out, and then you've got Angela in the room, and she's like, "What's the matter?
Don't you like your blind date?"
The blind
That
date
was
guy,
was my favorite one. That was when I was like, the cheesy lines in this movie absolutely work.
Yeah,
there are some great lines. There really are.
When I was doing my notes, most of my notes were just quotes. I was like writing the quote and putting the person's name by, and that's most of my notes for the first go around.
Where you going? The party's just begun.
I think them escaping and everybody kind of coming to try and get them at the end is dull. I don't think it's
weak writing.
Yeah,
it's a little like, let's wrap the movie up now.
Yeah. And honestly, this watching it this time around and forgetting about the bookend aspect of it, I was like, are they really going to end it like this? Because this is really going to bring this movie down for me. But luckily, we still have our bookend ending that we get to.
And naturally, if you swallow a razor, it will shoot out your neck, as we all know.
You're not going to notice it while you're chewing.
That's
it goes all the
what
way down.
I was gonna say. Can we talk about how Roger got back up on the wall without?
That's the other thing. How does he
on the
jump
other
back
side?
up?
We have not seen the outside of the wall.
Yeah,
so it's
fortunately, there's a
possible-
ladder on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh,
I really did think that we would end up in maybe a basement, some kind of sublevel,
Or
sublevel,
the
and we would-
water below the property.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We'd end up maybe escaping out of the sewers and
Yes.
come across that water.
The worst part of this movie, it drives me insane. Why set up the water if you're not going to use it?
Well, he had the stethoscope. If he's got the stethoscope, he's got to listen to something. It's not going to be a heartbeat.
What came first, the stethoscope or the underground stream? That's what I want to know.
Naturally or thematically?
In the script.
I thought the story was going to go somewhere where like it was a moat that was around this place at one point in time that they had to build over or something. But no, they just throw all that to the wayside.
Just really go off the rails on the river Styx.
What I want to know is why do all the demons turn to smoke, and like what caused like it doesn't make any sense.
Hell Night is over. Night of the Demons is over. That's
and they can only live on Halloween night for the night.
Because Halloween is their vacation and the funeral home's their Airbnb. You have to check out at some point.
I would accept that at the end of this movie if they showed the sun rising as this was happening. But no, all of this happens and then they cut to sun rising. It's like they could have played in where they mushed those shots together so it made a little more sense.
Well, maybe that's what it is. They knew that the AM has now started and the sun is starting to rise and their night's over.
Do we like the design of the demon?
No.
I don't think it looks bad.
Loved it.
I didn't like it.
It's just not very scary, I think. You know, it's interesting, but it's just not very scary. Not, you know.
Well, if I learned anything from watching The Unholy, it's really difficult to make puppets look scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. I mean, it made me think of In the Mouth of Madness, the monsters from that.
Yeah.
Where, you know, a lot of them were very, you know, kind of varied, and they were kind of, you know, they're interesting looking, but they're not really scary when you see them. They fall a little flat for me.
It's weird they explode like they're vampires at the end of this.
Yeah.
And hence again the blue smoke that got in everybody's nose. But you know, we've got our final girl and Raj, the black man who lives in a horror movie. Like, I was so happy to see that he lived in this too, and I forgot that it happened. But then they've got their walk of shame. I'm calling it on the way back home, and you've got the old man out on his lawn.
Rotten pig trash.
This guy deserves to die with a razor blade in his throat.
I almost gave my MVP of the movie to the old lady at the end for killing that old.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There is something about this guy that really just reminds me of Richard Nixon, and I'm not sure what it is.
I'm not a crook.
It's the attitude towards other people. That's what it is.
I'm putting razor blades in my apples.
Happy Halloween, dear.
It's a great little bookend ending to this for me. Like, if this wouldn't have been there, the ending would have brought the movie down. But I love that bookend so much that it's like
apple pie for breakfast.
Well, she's an old lady. She wanted to cook him some apple pie, but she also knew that he put razor blades in the apple. She knew that. She probably dumped the extra package in it.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was going to be one of those situations where she didn't realize that the apples had razor blades in them, and she made it just out of the good of her heart.
Yeah.
But the fact that she did it in cold blood, I was like, "Fuck yeah, Grandma, I love you."
I expected the grandma to maybe be demonic, like possessed.
Oh,
you know, to just kind of fit with the movie, like
to make it
maybe
work.
the evil escaped somehow and got into old lady grandma.
No, instead, it's a lady we've never seen before ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
We also just watched a demon blood orgy, so I think maybe we can let this one go.
I'm not going to lose
It is a
sleep
very
over
cool
it, but
scene, though. The effects are super cool when they start coming out of his neck.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better if it was Suzanne ripping out of the old lady's body and she's just nude. That would have been great.
And she's nude.
And she's nude.
And she's nude. And she shoots cosmetics out of her nipples.
Yeah.
You know, at least she doesn't have to carry a purse. You know, she can just carry everything right there in the nips.
Hey, dude, she's an Avon sales lady. Hey, would you like to try our new shade of pink lipstick? Hold on. Here you go.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. We don't take Discover. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Hey.
Oh, where are my keys? Right or left? Where are my keys?
They don't call them fun bags for no reason, guys. That's Night of the Demons, guys. I mean, we've gone over the majority of it. Let's talk a little bit about our final thoughts on Night of the Demons, and let's give it a score from 1 to 100. How about we do that? Okay, I'll start first. I like this movie a lot, dude. Like, it's becoming like one of my favorites that I'm going to start putting in regular rotation. I mean, like I said earlier, I feel like if I'd have watched this as a kid, it probably would have freaked me out, but it would have been one of those that left an impression on me, and I would have continued to go back to it and watched it. I think one reason I resonate with this movie so much is because a lot of it kind of looks like that third act of Michael Jackson's Thriller, which I love Michael Jackson Thriller. It's got that same sort of like the light shining through the creepy house, the zombies coming after them. Like, I think that's why I really like the way all that stuff is shot and set up. And just the atmosphere we've got here, Everybody looks creepy as fuck when they start turning into demons. You know, you've got some bad here. Judy, I really don't like Judy in this. I don't think she's a very good protagonist. Her screaming is like nails on a chalkboard for me. And then the meandering in certain scenes where it's kind of slow going through the hallways here and there. And the escape from the house at the end just sort of brings it down a little bit. But like I said, the bookend of the old man saves the day for this movie for me, and it keeps that score up. So we'll go ahead and throw it over to Mike. Mike, what are your thoughts on Night of the Demon?
Yeah, for me, I think this is a lot more fun than it has any real reason to be. The effects are great. The cinematography, I think, makes this way better than it really realistically probably is. Judy is a pretty terrible protagonist for sure, but I think that the fact that we have so many people in this movie pretty much saves it. And I love the idea that demons are spreading or multiplying or whatever it is that they're doing. I don't know if that's one demon multiplying, if it's multiple demons taking over multiple people. I don't know, but I don't give a shit. I love it. The effects are amazing. It's so much fun. I think that's the thing that this movie does that most other, especially late horror movies like this, miss. They're not fun. And this is just a ton of fun. I know that IMDb has it labeled as like a horror comedy. I don't know if I'd go that far. But it definitely has the same kind of sensibilities as an Evil Dead, where it takes itself seriously, but it's also very self-aware of what it is. And so for me, I absolutely love this. This is something I watch at least once a year. In fact, the notes that I've been looking at throughout this whole thing, I was working on a solo review right around Halloween for this, but never got around to it. And so I pulled out the notes while I was rewatching this, and I was like, this is exactly how I feel. I can just rewatch this movie and not even take notes on it. So this is something I really, really enjoy. And it is something that most people that are not super obsessed with horror, I think, know exists. And that's a real fucking shame.
Yeah.
So.
Brett, how about you? First watch. What'd you think of this one?
I was hyper reluctant going into this one. I am a horror fan, but I would say of the five of us, I am the least biggest horror fan. It's not that I don't like horror, I just don't go out of my way to watch a ton of it unless it's spiritual horror. And so that's why I went into this with reluctance instead of negativity, because this is very much a spiritual, supernatural horror film. And as we kind of got into it, I was like, okay, this is fun. This is clearly not taking itself too seriously. And generally movies like this that I watch, the ones that I enjoy the most are the ones that don't take themselves too seriously. And as I said earlier, this is a movie that knows exactly what it is, and it invested time, money, and effort into all the correct areas, literally all the correct areas. It doesn't give a shit about the dialogue because it knows the viewers don't give a shit about the dialogue. It doesn't care about the actors because it knows none of us give a shit about the actors. You go into a movie like this for special effects, and then we get a little cherry on top with actually good camera work and lighting. And that's what it does really, really well. And so overall, I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. And this is actually one I'm probably going to watch on Halloween yearly because it does have that theme to it while having a rewatchable ability.
Yeah, its positives definitely make up for its negatives. I'll say that. Eric, again, first time watch for you. You feel the same?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just kind of echo what's been said. It surprised me as well. As I started watching, I'm like, I kind of like the tone here. Like you said, it's fun. And yeah, I had fun with it, and the effects are great. It takes some influence from movies we really like, and in a good way. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love that it's another great Halloween themed movie to watch in October. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Jason, I mean, I know this is a rewatch for you, but do you feel any differently about it now, or is it still kind of around the same line?
It's always been a good movie to me to watch. I don't hold it high in my horror loving of movies. It's still a decent, just a cool, like, hey, y'all, Night of the Demons is on, we'll watch. Like, I did watch it this past Halloween. I think it popped up. It was on every streaming network because it's Halloween and anything Halloween related is going to be on. I always liked the movie because of the special effects. Of course, fake boobs are great and all the nudity. It hits all the tropes of 80s movie when you're a teenager. Nudity and sex, and you're gonna die. And then we get all this homage stuff that later you realize you got some Evil Dead, you got some Return of the Living Dead. There's all kinds of stuff through this whole, even like Halloween. Like Eric's out throwing like trick or treating there. Hey, you got to think about that too.
Well, that came later, obviously, but
yeah, man, later, yeah. Like I said, like the whole severed arm effect in there, Suzanne's torso thing, lipstick thing, the demon's makeup, everything was fantastic in this. One thing I wanted to ask anybody: does anybody know what Sal's last name was?
Romero.
On the tombstone in the cemetery, and they said that was a nod to George.
I do want to say I love that the tombstone says "died tonight."
Yeah, yeah. There you
You're
go.
gonna have to update that tombstone to yesterday tomorrow, but that's fine.
But yeah, those are things. I mean, then the bads. There's some parts in here. There's a shot of Judy falling in slow motion. Didn't need that.
Oh, I actually liked that.
Oh, I loved it too. It felt very Vertigo to me.
Yeah, I didn't like that. And then of course her acting. Some of the acting in this movie, but mainly Judy, not a great actress at all for this movie.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely still a fun watch. I mean, been watching it for years, but it's not one I go to regularly.
Gotcha.
So, definitely. I mean, that's like I am. I watch more horror movies than I do anything, so it's hard to praise it when there's still so many better horror movies in front of it. So
I think that's interesting too. I think it's interesting how the viewing experience can be affected depending on how into horror you really are.
Oh yeah, it can be. And how many times you've watched it? Did you watch this when you were 12 or 13, or did you watch this like Eric when you're 40?
I watched it 5 hours ago.
or 5 hours ago,
Yeah.
It does have a different effect because you've seen it so many things, and then there's been so many other movies that have come after it.
Well,
that
I
just
just
kind of keep knocking it down on the level.
like I've mentioned, since watching it this time and knowing how I feel about it now, like I can only imagine how I would have felt about it as a kid. I think I would have a much bigger appreciation for this movie if I saw.
Oh, you would have had a much
young.
bigger appreciation of it at about 14 years old.
Yeah.
Yes.
Much bigger appreciation.
Can confirm.
Damn dirty socks everywhere, Josh.
All right, well, everybody, let's from 1 to 100. What would you score this movie? Write it on your boards. We're going to show it. What's your score going to be for Night of the Demons? All right, your score from 1 to 100. 1, 2, or 3, 2, 1. Throw them up. Wow, 31. 83, 80, 65. I'm going 75. Jason, 31? Really? That's low, man.
That is low. That is very low.
Not to me. Hey, dude, we've done some movies in here where I thought you guys were going to go high, and y'all went low, and those are movies y'all like. So
I honestly, I wanted to go higher, but I'm trying to think of like movies I would put ahead of this, and it kind of like bumped it down a little bit.
Well, that's what I was saying. As being somebody who, I mean, 80% of the movies I watch are horror related. It's hard to put this ahead of a lot of other movies that are better, but would still, to me, be maybe a 50 or 60. So I'm pretty critical.
I'm just curious, when you're rating something, are you thinking of this movie compared to other movies when you're giving it a number?
No, I'm comparing it to my enjoyment of all my horror movies. I go like, okay, of all the horror, like I can tell you this, there's only one movie that will get 100, and that's Halloween. That's it. So that's
I thought
all.
I was going to say Casablanca.
No, Halloween, 1978. That's the only movie that will get 100. So you start there, and then you look at Night of Demons. To me, yeah, it's going to be way down.
31.
31. That's a little low if you ask me. But hey, I'm not Jason.
But not only that, it's the movie's on Halloween, so 31.
I think he did that because he's been all about the boobs and the sex, and that rating is 69 below 100.
Yes. Well, I put boobs on the board. Boobs.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
I think his real score was 69, and he didn't want to tell anybody.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for our discussion about Night of the Demons. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Night of the Demons. Do you think it's rated too low? Do you think it should be rated higher? What do you think of our scores? What would you score it? All of that good stuff. We want to talk with you in the comments below. I'd like to thank Brett and Mike for joining us this week. Thank you so much, you guys. You can catch them on YouTube at From the Deep. That's their channel, From the Deep. I'll leave a link in the description box below. You can check out what they've been doing. They've got reviews of The Menu, Violent Night, Scream 6, all kinds of stuff up there. So please, if you like our show, I guarantee you will like their show. So go over, check those guys out. That's going to do it for us. Again, head over to redbubble.com, pick up some VHS Files merch. It helps us keep this show going. Visit our friends over at Cavity Colors. Get some horror merch over there. You can get 10% off with the code VHS Files Podcast at the link in the description box below. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Had a great time talking about Night of the Demons. I want to thank everyone for liking, subscribing, hit that notification bell so you can come back next time when we're talking about something. Until then, be kind. You guys say rewind.
Rewind!